Y'all, episode 3 was a definition of everything was fine until it wasn't. We have Kenzie, who was doing the most in this episode. She's still struggling to recover from Zach choosing Kada. And then we have Melanie, who's also doing the most because Sincere pulled Kada for a chat. What is going on with these islanders, y'all? Now tune in so we could talk about it.
Kay Unscripted, no teeth restricted. In this journey, watch our stories unfold.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. This is Kay Unscripted and I am your girl Kay. Today we're going to be breaking down episode 3 of Love Island USA season 8. Now before we talk about all the mess that happened in this episode, please take a minute to like, comment and subscribe to the channel for more recaps like this one. Now let's get into this episode because there's so much to talk about. So we pick up with Kenzie, who's still in her feelings because Zach ended up coupling up with Kada, and she said she's done. She's trying to put up a friend like she doesn't care, but we all know she's hurt, alright? So she is with the girls and she's basically saying she doesn't even want to look at Zach. She doesn't want to hear from him. She doesn't want an explanation. She doesn't want a PowerPoint presentation. She doesn't want a handwritten apology. She wants nothing. She said she's over it, or at least she was trying very hard to convince herself that she was over it. And I just feel like she should have just told Zach, hey, I don't need anything from you. I just felt like she was being a little mean, but that's just my opinion. Melanie pulls her to the side to talk, and she too wasn't exactly Team Zach either. Kenzie pointed out that Zach wanted somebody with dark hair and dark features, and well, now he had exactly that. She also admitted that she saw some warning signs from the beginning and wished she had trusted her gut sooner. Now, what really got me was when she said she didn't even want him looking into her eyes anymore because that was basically the only thing he ever complimented. And I said, ouch. Baby, she was collecting evidence and she said, let me present my case. But also, girl, why are you so hurt? It's not like the man led you on. It's simply just day 2. And that is something that I need these people to a reality check. It's just day 2. He does have the right to explore with other connections, even with him being vocal about the way he feels towards you. So I'm gonna need you to simmer down and move on. Now, meanwhile, the boys are settling back into the villa after Paradise Cove. Gabriel was getting introduced properly to the group. Zach was looking pretty pleased with himself because he has a connection with Kada, and Sincere was trying to process everything that had just happened. Now everyone was acting friendly, but you could already tell that the tension was bubbling, right? There's a lot of things happening in pockets of places, right? Anaya has a chat with Bia, and she's saying that she doesn't want to invalidate Sean's feelings and does want an opportunity to talk things out with him. She also gushes about the Gabriel and lets Anaya know that she and Gabriel has a lot of sexual tension and they do have a lot of chemistry. Now, while she's talking about her man, because that's definitely what he was giving, he comes up and he asks to speak with her privately. So then they go to the side and she's saying that she was nervous but happy to have been chosen by him. And they're sitting there, they're speaking in Spanish with each other. It was cute. It was definitely giving happy couple. She does let him know that she intends to have a conversation with Sean because she thought she would have had a chance to talk about her feelings during the challenge, but it didn't quite turn out that way. Now, Sean, on the other hand, he's spiraling a little bit. To him, he feels like it's one thing that a girl likes the guy, right? And she wants to explore the connection with the other guy. But it's another thing actually seeing it in his face and seeing them making out and all of that. It's a little bit too much for him, and I quite understand that. Honestly, I just want for them to have the talk and for this to be over and done with. Now, Kada and Bryce have a little chat. They're in soul ties. And let me tell you all something. These two were in their own little world. The second they sat down, they couldn't stop smiling at each other. They kept talking about how exciting it felt to finally be an official couple. And to be honest, Zach looked like he just won the lottery. He looks really happy, honestly. Now, what stood out to me with those two is how comfortable they seemed together. It just looked like two people who were genuinely enjoying each other's company. They get to talking about their ideal weekends, and it turns out they actually are pretty similar. Zach does admit that he's more of a homebody, but he does also enjoy going to the gym, relaxing at home, watching movies. He also said he loves playing video games, but Kada thought it was adorable, and these two were just enjoying each other, and I really like to see that. Zach even said that getting picked by Kada felt like the start of his Love Island journey because now he finally had the reassurance for what he was actually looking for. Meanwhile, Kada couldn't stop talking about how excited she was to spend more time together, to cuddle, and to continue building the connection that they have formed thus far. Now, let's talk about this chat between Sean and Beatrice. I couldn't wait for that conversation to happen. Sean finally had the opportunity to hear her side of things after being left single and seeing her flaunting her new man in his face. So Beatrice explained that she never intended to completely shut the door on their connection. In her mind, stepping on the red wasn't really ending things, it was simply just being open to exploring. Sean, however, had interpreted it completely differently, and to him, stepping on the red dot meant you were choosing someone else and essentially walking away from what they had. Now, once they actually talked it through, you could see that the misunderstanding became a lot more clearer. They weren't necessarily operating from the same definition of what exploring meant. To each person, it meant something different. But Sean, then, after hearing her explanation, he kind of changed his perspective. And in spite of the hurt that he kind of felt, they left the conversation with no hard feelings. And to be honest, I also felt like they left that conversation kind of being done with each other too, because throughout the night we don't see them actually connecting again. Now Kada meets all the girls. They welcome her, they introduce themselves and ask questions about how she was feeling coming into the villa. Kada admitted that she was nervous because, I mean, let's be real, nobody wants to walk into a room knowing that they just stole another person's partner just 24 hours earlier. But the girls actually handled it pretty maturely. We also see Kenzie especially making it clear that there were no hard feelings between them. But clearly she was still hurt about it. I mean, she's just putting up a front at this point. The conversation even got a little funny when they started discussing whether they would actually go for Zach if they met him outside of the villa. And for Kada, it was absolutely, but Kenzie was like, absolutely not. And clearly, she's just being shady because she's hurt. But then we check in with Bryce and Trinity, who had a really mature conversation. Remember that these two both chose to explore the bombshell connections, but somehow they ended up right back together. Bryce was honest about his date with Kada. He admitted that they kissed and had a good conversation, but he also felt like she and Zach were probably going to pursue each other seriously. I mean, clearly, because you tried to get in on some action when you were in that bed together, and Kada said no. Now, Trinity echoed similar sentiments with Gabriel. She also admitted that they kissed, but said that there wasn't really a strong romantic connection between them. In fact, exploring other people actually made both Bryce and Trinity appreciate their connection with each other, is what they're saying. Now, Bryce also said that he was thinking about Trinity the entire time, knowing good well that he was lying. That's not true. You will not. Boy, please. Anyways, Kenzie and Sean check in with each other. Now, remember, she was saying F Zach, right? And all of that. But clearly, the girl is so hurt. She's talking about how irritating it is to see Zach kiss Kada in her face, and felt like he should have been more upfront with her. But then Zach tries to talk to her and she shuts him down. So it's like, what do you want? Right? Anyways, it's bedtime and everyone heads to bed. And then we get to the next morning, and as usual, breakfast gets made by the guys. And did y'all peep that smooch between Kenzie and Sean? When did that happen? But you know what? I'm actually here for it. It's going to take her mind off Zach. Now, anyways, let's talk about Sincere. Sincere pulls Kada for a chat. Now, the conversation started innocent enough. They talked about where they're from, their families, favorite foods, and also discovered that their dogs have almost identical names. But then Sincere started complimenting Kada. He talks about how beautiful she was, and how easy it is to talk to her. But it wasn't too heavy or too thick, right? Even though he kept saying that he was happy with Melanie, he also made it very clear that he wanted to keep exploring. And at one point, he basically compared women to fishes. He was saying just because you catch one beautiful fish, it doesn't mean you stop noticing another beautiful fish. And I'm like, so that analogy did not help your case. And speaking of Melanie, she was struggling, okay? This entire episode, she was struggling. Now, as she opened up to the girls, she admitted that she was scared. Not necessarily because of Kada, but because she could feel herself genuinely liking Sincere. She talked about how feeling like men eventually get tired of her and they lose interest in her after the initial excitement wears off is something that she has had to deal with in her past. Melanie wasn't too happy seeing Sincere with Kada, and clearly this wasn't really about them having a conversation at all. It was about old insecurities that was starting to creep back in and make her question whether she could trust him. And she was definitely self-sabotaging, and she does say she wonders if that's what she's doing, and I hope that she catches herself. Now Zach has a chat with Bia, and he's trying to get some tips on how to approach Kenzie because she has shut him down when he's tried to have a conversation with her. Now meanwhile, Kenzie is walking past them with Gabriel, and so they both head over to the side to get to know each other better. The two bonded over languages. They talk about travel and how they love the beach, with Gabriel even encouraging Kenzie to move to Miami before thinking about California because she mentioned that where she lives currently has nothing to offer. Now, as the conversation gets flirtier, they discover that they both value being straightforward, showing affection through physical touch. Now, Gabriel proudly claimed that he has some of the best dance moves because he's a Latino, and Kenzie revealed that she used to be a competitive dancer, which only seemed to intrigue him a little bit more. Might I also add that most of the flirting was coming from Kenzie? I feel like she was laying it real thick. And something I kind of noticed too about Kenzie, I don't know, I may be looking too deep into it, but I feel like sometimes Kenzie tries to find things that she could link a connection with that person, right? We did see her also doing the same with Sean when he spoke about dragons, and she was like, I saw my mom and I just had a conversation about dragons, right? And here she is doing the same with Gabriel about dancing. It's like she always has, I love dancing. Oh, I used to be a competitive dancer. You get what I'm saying, right? That's kind of what I'm picking up from Kenzie. It's not coming off genuine, and I'm not saying that she's lying about being a competitive dancer, but I just see a pattern when it comes to Kenzie. She even went as far as letting him know that she likes his energy, and that his accent was a big turn on for her. Like I said, she's coming in hot and heavy with the flirting. But what I don't understand is why she's being mean to Zach. Like, that man don't owe you no type of explanation, but he's trying to, and you keep shutting him down. I just feel like Kenzie is doing a little too much, and I'm gonna need her to go sit to the side, please. Anyways, later on, Melanie pulled Anaya for a chat. So Melanie, Anaya, sorry, casually mentions that Sincere had already pulled Kada for a chat earlier in the day, and you could tell that Melanie's face just dropped. She wasn't happy. She tried to play it cool, and she kept saying that she wasn't upset, but it was obvious that it caught her off guard, since she hadn't even had a chance to speak to Sincere throughout the day, and she's been wanting to. But my thing is, you could get up and go talk to him too. He doesn't have to be the one to pull you for a chat. But anyways, as the conversation continued, Melanie starts to open up about a fear that she has. She admitted that in her past relationships, guys would initially be drawn to her bubbly personality and her energy, only to kind of lose interest afterwards. Now, while in her confessional, she shared that she was terrified of self-sabotaging something good with Sincere, because every time she tried to express her feelings in her previous relationships, she felt pushed away. But we don't see Anaya immediately reassure her, telling her that she couldn't imagine anyone getting tired of someone as sweet as her, and encouraging her to not overthink things. They do end up sharing a hug, and Melanie was starting to cry, so she went to the dressing room to get herself together. Now, some people might think that she's doing too much, but I think she's going to be just fine. I don't think in that moment she overreacted. I wouldn't cry, I wouldn't go to that extreme, but I would definitely feel a way if you're telling me I'm your number one, but you haven't spent any time with me. But then again, I also feel like she could be initiating conversations with Sincere as well. Meanwhile, over in another corner of the villa, Kenzie caught up with Trinity, and she wasted no time admitting how she was feeling a little bit flustered with Gabriel. She confessed that Gabriel gave her butterflies and even joked about how it made her kitty purr. Oh my goodness. The conversation then shifted. Oh my lord. The conversation shifted to Bryce, right? Kenzie admitted that while they get along, sorry, Trinity, that had me confused for a moment because I'm reading my notes and that just made me laugh all over again. But anyways, Trinity is saying that she feels like she and Bryce has more of a friendship connection rather than a romantic connection. She described him as quirky and funny, but their conversations don't really flow on a deeper level. Adding that if Bryce wants to pursue other connections, he's free to do so. But Kenzie also said that she doesn't really know Bryce, and she's also open to getting to know him. But for her, the connections that she really wants to explore are with Sean and Gabriel. Now, Trinity is trying to get her to spill the tea, okay? Because she asked her who she had a better connection with, and Kenzie said it's Sean and Gabriel, and they're pretty neck to neck at this point. And I said, what? When? Where did this happen? Because I didn't really see either of the guys flirting back with her. We do see she and Sean sharing kisses, but I don't know, we missed that conversation or something. Now, it's later on in the evening. Everyone gets dressed up and looking good. Trinity kind of pulls Beatrice for a chat, okay? So the girls are comparing notes. That's what it was giving. Okay, now especially because Kenzie has been spending a lot of time with Gabriel, and Bea needs to know what's up because she did peep them talking for a really long time. Now, Trinity revealed to Beatrice that Kenzie was torn between Gabriel and Sean, right? Her new boo and her ex-boo. Bia mentions that she had noticed Gabriel and Kenzie talking for quite a while, and she couldn't help but wonder what was going on. So she definitely needed that tea. Now, she said although she still considered Gabriel to be her number one connection, she wants to continue building with him, but she also felt a little thrown off because everyone has agreed to be upfront and honest about exploring other connections, right? Now, instead of jumping to conclusions, Bia says that she will have to speak to Gabriel directly to see what he says, and she also does want to have a conversation with Kenzie, right? Now, just when everyone thought tonight would have been a peaceful night, a text came through announcing that there's a challenge, and it's called That Sinking Feeling. The challenge had the islanders reading outrageous confessions, guessing who the confession belonged to, and then pushing that person into the pool. But then you actually find out who that confession was actually linked to. So we have the first question, which was read by Melanie, and it involves someone who had done role play as the Terminator during sex. She chose Anaya, and she was right. Then another confession read by Casey revealed that someone had forgotten their hookup's name during sex. He chose Zach, and it was indeed Zach. The next question was read by Kada in regard to an islander sleeping with a 52-year-old. She chose Gabriel and was right. Child, these questions got messier and messier. The next question was which islander broke up with their partner and slept with someone new the next day. That same day, sorry. Cynthia chose Bryce, and it turns out it was Sean. Bryce read the most outrageous question. Which islander gave their boyfriend head while their mom was driving? Now, he chose Kenzie, and in fact, it was Trinity. And Lord have mercy. Girl, what? Y'all, let's move on. The next question was which islander ghosted a boy because he bought her an engagement ring? Beatrice chose Kada, but turns out it was Melanie. The next question was read by Trinity. Which islander had an orgasm all over their friends' pillows? Lord. She chose Casey, but y'all, it was Kada. Child, some of these things we didn't need to know. Oh my Lord. The next question was which islander has had sex in the same room as their best friend? Zach chose Sincere, and y'all, it was Casey. The next question was which islander dated someone so he could get to their friend and get their number? Kenzie chose Zach, and I honestly feel like she did that intentionally to get back at Zach. But anyways, it turned out to be Bryce. Just trifling. Now, the last question was which islander is guilty of texting other people while they were with someone else? Anaya chose Sean, but turns out it was Sincere, and baby Melanie was not happy. Unfortunately for Sincere, Melanie still couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't sitting right with her, especially after hearing that question. Now she's with the girls and she's in her feelings. She's straight up saying, oh, if you want to cheat, then I'm going to be cheating too, and we're just going to be cheating together. Now, meanwhile, Sincere is with Casey saying that Melanie told him he's free to explore, and now that he did, it's coming off like it's an issue. So while Melanie is sitting with the girls, Kada is there. She starts questioning Kada about her conversation with Sincere, and Kada's like, girl, it was nothing. We were just getting to know each other. But Melanie, she finally gets to have a chat with Sincere, and while he insisted that pulling Kada was harmless and Melanie still remains his strongest connection, she was having a hard time separating his words from his actions. She wanted reassurance, and she's saying that she wants consistently because to her she wasn't getting both, right? Now, I just feel like Melanie wasn't trying to hear anything Sincere was saying because she already has her mind made up with opinions in her head, and it's clouding her judgment, especially because she is having to deal with some things from her past that kind of resurfaces because of things that she's now learning about Sincere. And so it's now making her look a little crazy, like, girl, relax. Take it down 10 notches, because what is happening? Now, y'all, this is where the episode ends. And episode 3 just proved anything in this villa is going to get messier and messier from this point on. So, if you liked this recap, please go ahead and take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more recaps like this one. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.